So some good news on the COVID-19 vaccine front. South African company Biovac has entered into an agreement to make the Pfizer BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine here in South Africa. Biovac plans to make 100 million doses a year. All of the vaccines will be distributed to the over 50 member states of the African Union. And for more, I'm joined by Heidi Giokos. Heidi, thank you so much for joining us. This, of course, is great news. It sounds like a similar deal to what Johnson & Johnson and Aspen are doing. Tell me a little bit more about when we're going to see the first filled and finished Pfizer doses from South Africa.
So we understand, Sally, that will only be next year. According to the statement from Biovac, we understand that Pfizer has signed a letter of intent with Biovac Institute to manufacture the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine. We understand that Biovac will perform manufacturing distribution of the vaccine with the Cape Town facility brought online by the end of 2021. We then understand that the first, if I can call it, batch of finished doses will commence in 2022. So it's still a long while until we actually see these Pfizer vaccines being distributed, not only here in South Africa, but on the African continent. Sally, this is a significant move, not just for South Africa, but also for the African continent. We understand that the African continent has suffered immensely with not having access to vaccines. We know other countries globally have been able to go back to some kind of normal life because most of their population, or at least half of their population, has been vaccinated, whereas Africa is struggling, and we're seeing a resurgence on the African continent with the Delta variant spreading, and there's been a call for countries to not hog vaccines. But now that Biovac and Pfizer are going to be working together, you will see the distribution of these vaccines within 55 member states that make up the African Union. For once, it's some good news. We do understand that, of course, Biovac will need to get its facility ready, as it mentions in its statement, all the necessary equipment and everything else that's needed to be able to fill and finish bottling these vials for distribution. So it's still a long while, but hopefully, Sally, there'll be a little bit of pressure for this to be done as quickly as possible.
Of course, we're not at the stage, it seems, yet of being able to manufacture the drug substance, which is the base, the liquid, that we still have to import to put into the vials that we're filling and finishing.
Yes, so we know that what they call the ingredients will be coming from Europe, and this then will be moved and filled and finished into the bottles. So the medical term, or the technical term, if I can call it that, is the technology that is used to manufacture these vaccines. South Africa will not have access to that, and of course there's a waiver on how these vaccines are made, and many calling to say that this should not be the case, because if the vaccine can save lives and decrease the pressure on hospitalization, why is this not easily made accessible to other countries that could possibly also manufacture and have the ingredients that is needed for this vaccine? So we need to make it very clear that we are going to be getting the ingredients, very similar to Johnson & Johnson and the Aspen deal, and we will be filling the vials. We still don't have access to the technology that is used to make these COVID-19 vaccines.
And then, Heidi, you've also been monitoring what's been going on this afternoon in Parliament, and that's the big debate around Ivermectin, and the health products regulator has been facing some questions, and it's such a contentious issue because Ivermectin, there are doctors who swear blind it is absolutely helpful in the treatment and I think even the prevention of COVID-19. And there are just as many doctors who say there's absolutely no science to show it works. I'm just wondering what the health products regulator has had to answer to. Of course, we do know that they have not authorized it as a treatment for COVID, but there are some circumstances where an individual doctor can apply to use it in that way. But what's been going on in Parliament?
Yes, so we do know that there are certain circumstances where ivermectin is allowed, but what's very clear, and according to SAHPRA, the medicine regulator in the country, they have made it very clear, Sally, that we understand that there is still no evidence to prove that the use of ivermectin will reduce hospital admissions, disease complications, and mortality. They presented a full report today in Parliament before the Health Committee to say that as much as everybody is raising questions, as much as everybody wants to use ivermectin, the medicine regulator has not even received an application yet, Sally, for the use of treatment for ivermectin for COVID-19. It's received applications for the use of ivermectin for other health issues and complications, but not necessarily ivermectin. And the health regulator saying everybody should be extremely careful when using ivermectin, even though certain doctors swear by it, as you mentioned, when it comes to COVID-19. Just reading from one slide of the report, it says current evidence from pooled studies is still not conclusive whether ivermectin confers any clinical benefits in COVID-19. No evidence that ivermectin increases viral clearance, reduces hospital admissions, disease complications, or mortality. Ivermectin should not be used routinely in the management of any stage of COVID-19, except in the context of sufficiently powered randomized clinical trials and with well-defined study endpoints intended for regulatory marketing authorization. So again, Sally, the medicine regulator clarifying once again, it is not advisable to use it for COVID-19 as the studies do not prove that it can clear COVID-19 or that it reduces hospitalization or mortality.
Sure, Heidi, I don't think that debate's going to go away quickly, because I know people who really do swear by it, and I also have listened to so many doctors saying there's just no evidence. And I think it sounds like it's SAHPRA saying, look, we've got to stick to the science, we've got to stick to the evidence at hand. And of course, the challenge with this COVID-19 is that we're learning things in real time, and we're trying to understand what this virus is all about in real time. And it's showing us flames all the time, sadly. Thank you very much, Heidi Giokos. That is our reporter, Heidi Giokos. Let's just